Hey there, multi-prep teachers. You know how professional development never seems to quite get to what we need? It's like, great idea, but how do I make this work when I have 3+ preps to juggle? That's exactly why I created the Simplify Your Preps Collective. It's a free Facebook group built just for teachers like you, where we share tips, resources, and real talk about making multi-prep teaching less overwhelming and more doable. Sound like your kind of space? Head to KhristenMasick.com/collective and join us today. Let's simplify together. I can recall having an assignment in my teacher prep program about creating unit plans. So we were supposed to take a class and come up with some unit plans, kind of like a curriculum map, but not totally. And I remember it being hard and it taking a lot of time, but at no point during this assignment when I was doing it did I ever think that would I not just have to do that for one class, but I would have to do it for multiple preps. I'll mention that one of my student teachers that I had when I was ready to give her my classes, she got overwhelmed, and even she didn't know how to work with multiple preps, and it was really hard for her to make that transition to teaching multiple different classes. She had the preference of just teaching one of my classes, one of my preps, and then I would be teaching the other one. So this was like 10 years later that we're still struggling with this. And if you didn't go to a teacher prep program, this is completely foreign to you as well, because you got hired to teach one specific thing, not realizing that you would need to teach so many. Today, we are going to be talking about some step-by-step strategies to help you as a multiple prep teacher. Welcome to the Secondary Teacher Podcast, the podcast for middle and high school teachers juggling multiple preps to get the strategies to reduce overwhelm so that you don't have to choose between being an effective teacher and prioritizing important relationships. I'm your host, Khristen Masick, a 10-year high school engineering teacher, former middle school assistant principal, and teacher coach. Every week, we will discuss strategies, systems, and time-saving tips to help you not only survive, but thrive as a multiple prep teacher. I've mentioned this before, and I heard it somewhere, I can't remember where, but the idea of overwhelm is that you don't know where to start or where to go next. It isn't just this obscure stress, but it's really that you've got so much to do, but you don't know where to start and where to go. And those feelings of overwhelm are real. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, you are not alone. The hardest part is to figure out where to go next. Also, one of the things that makes our multiple prep job so difficult is that not only do you not know where to go next, but then you're limited on your time and your resources. If you don't feel like you are an expert in all of your different preps, that really takes a toll. You have to now then figure out how to teach those concepts when maybe you don't feel as confident in it yourself. Having to juggle those different planning times, the different courses, the different projects, and all of that, that is what makes it so difficult as a multiple prep teacher. I remember sitting in faculty meetings and hearing some other teachers complain about their load. And I was sitting there thinking, well, you're teaching like one subject. And sure, they may have had multiple preps, but in my mind, this was me being naive, that they seemed fairly related. You could have that. You could have multiple preps where they are related. There's still prep that has to happen. But then there's also this added prepness for those of you who are teaching classes that are very unrelated, or they're somewhat related, but the content is very different. Like you have a beginning, an intermediate, and advanced class, and so the content doesn't cross over at all. Having to plan and prep for all these classes with that lack of time means that you struggle with worrying about whether or not you are effective and having a work-life balance. That is, I think, the biggest issue with as being a multiple prep teacher is not knowing where and when to start, and then not knowing where and when to stop so that you can still have a life outside of school. Let's go into some of the things that you need to be successful as a multiple prep teacher. First off, you do have to have a little bit of a mindset knowing that while you don't have to totally accept that this is going to be the rest of my life and that I'm always going to have a million preps, but also be aware that you could get preps added or taken away at any given time in any different year. I have strategies to help you prevent that, or I guess plan for other things, but that is going to be in a different episode. But I want you to really think about how you can utilize planning and organization to save your life as a multiple prep teacher. Having those plans and then being organized will really help you survive and thrive as a multiple prep teacher. The other thing that is very important as a multiple prep teacher is to be able to prioritize what you are doing and then having that time management skills to go with that so that you get the right things done during your planning time so that you're not wasting time or feeling like you are wasting time on things that may not make a difference in your students' learning. Another key thing that you need as a multiple prep teacher is you need support and resources to alleviate that stress. Not everyone knows what it is like to be a multiple prep teacher. Believe me, I have been an administrator, and a lot of the administrators I worked with, they had never been a multiple prep teacher. And so when they were creating the master schedule, they didn't realize the added burden that they were asking of their teachers. Some did notice that more than others, but quite frankly, sometimes they didn't. And then there wasn't necessarily the support to go along with that to help those teachers be successful in now the schedule that they have been assigned. Let's dive into some of the ways that you can overcome these challenges as a multiple prep teacher. The first thing is acknowledge the season that you are currently in. When I first started teaching, I did not have children. I was married, but I didn't have children, and so I could spend more time planning and prepping. But then as I started having kids, then that really has shifted drastically, and my season has changed, and the amount of time that I can and that I want to spend planning has reduced. Knowing that you are in a certain season right now and that it could change is, I think, one of the biggest ways to overcome that challenge, because it's too often we compare ourselves with other teachers, and they more often than not are in a different season than we are. Really realize that we are all in different seasons, and it's okay to accept the season that you're in, and know that there are times where you might spend more time after your contracted hours, and there's other times where you are really wanting to leave the moment that your contracted hours are finished. The next thing is to have some sort of planning system or tool. Now, this will look different for everyone. I like to do things digital, so I have a unit planning calendar that you can actually get for free on Teachers Pay Teachers, and it helps me know what is coming as far as the units go. It's not super detailed as far as the lessons go, but I can add things if I wanted and have multiple copies for different preps. I could even stack them if I wanted so that I knew what I was teaching on any given day. But that is one method that I have done. I also had a mentor teacher who loved the paper planners. Find something that works for you and keep it consistent. One thing with that planning system and tool is I would advise that you make it so that you can see all of your preps at once. Too often we plan in a siloed situation where we're only looking at one class at a time, and then that can really cause some problems down the road because we have started and ended a unit at the same time, or we have this big project due that is going to require you to do a lot of grading, and somehow we made that so that it ends up being right before the holiday break. It's just great to be able to look and see everything that's going on in all of your preps. However that works for you, that is probably my number one tip, is to have some sort of planning system or tool that works for you and make sure you can see everything at a glance. The next thing that I want to give you a little advice on is how to manage your time. The thing that really has changed my life is to decide how long I want to spend on a task, whether that is brainstorming or something, or looking for a resource, or coming up with an activity, or creating a worksheet, whatever, and setting a time, whether that's like 15 minutes, an hour, and then sticking with that, and whatever I'm at the end of that time is what I run with. Quite frankly, more often than not, your best idea is going to be your first one. You have no idea if it will even work with your students until you try it out. Spending hours upon hours searching the internet or Pinterest or Teachers Pay Teachers to try to find the perfect lesson or resource or activity, it's not really going to make a difference. Save yourself a ton of time and just pick a path and go with it and try it out and make some notes. Did that work? Did it not work? What do you need to adjust? And if you are lucky enough to teach this prep more than once, you can adjust between class periods, which is fabulous. You may not be able to adjust a ton, but you at least have that freedom there. Once again, you take notes so that the next time you teach this, you know what worked and what didn't. My final suggestion on how to overcome these challenges is to seek support from colleagues, mentors, finding communities of multiple prep teachers. There are Facebook groups, there are Instagram, not necessarily groups, but there's people you can follow on Instagram who you can send DM to. You can send a DM to me if you have questions, and there are a lot of people out there who are willing to support you even if they are not in your school. But you might find people also within your school or your district who are willing to support you. Seek out those who you feel like you can trust, who can support you as a multiple prep teacher, because that will go a long way. As a recap, we talked about some of the challenges as a multiple prep teacher, namely time management and also overwhelm. Just that feeling of overwhelm, and some ways that you can help that overwhelm, some tips on how to really survive as a multiple prep teacher through planning, coming up with a planning system, a tool that works for you, that really supports you in what you're doing, and then sticking with your gut and your first idea whenever you are planning or prepping for one of your classes. And on a final note, be watching or listening or whatever as time moves forward, because we've got some great ways that we can offer you support, free support, to help you as a multiple prep teacher finish out this school year and then also prepare you for next year. If this episode was helpful to you, it could be for others. To help spread the word about this podcast, take a screenshot of this episode. You can also leave a review and share it with your teacher bestie. I hang out the most on Instagram, so you can find me at Khristen Masick, KhristenMasic. Until next week.